Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Danielcode. Let's see what we have here. Wonderful. Oh, Mickey D's with us. Hello, Mick. How are you? Loud and clear. Well, that's grand. If you can hear us, I guess the rest of the world can as well. And thank you for that, most prompt and efficient. Okay. Lots of our old friends are with us today, as always. I see, yes, Albert, he's a tutorial guy. Andrew as well, David Beecham over in New Zealand. Hope your trading's going well, David. Let's see who else we got. Andrew Max with us. Oh, Greg Palladini's with us from California. Greg is going to feature today with a mention, as is Mark L, who's on here as well, Mickey D. Miles, good to have you with us. Peter Mack, who is not a day trader. Good to have you with us, mate. Rob over in New Zealand, he's a super trader. I am getting in a stage where Karen had a friend over from New Zealand last week, and apparently it's all go to New Zealand now. So as soon as we get through the end of the financial year, I will be coming over to see you, Rob. So I'm looking forward to having a beer with you. It's been far too long. Oh, right, that's what I thought. Rob says, don't be so sure. He thinks he's going to go pie-shaped. Right, okay. Oh, dear, oh me. Yeah, that's what happens, isn't it? We'll see. It's just been a real business. Just gone on and on and on, honestly. Okay, so let's talk about what we've got here today. Because there is an awful lot happening. It's a pretty, can you all see me? Yes, good. It's a pretty big statement, isn't it? Change your life. But it's a pretty big issue. I want to thank Terry for our banner today. I love the Equities, Forex, futures, and the misturn, which can be solved by a Danielcode webinar. Thank you, Terry. I think that's absolutely excellent. But it's a very big statement, and there are some reasons for it. Let's move on now. So as you know, markets are rational, orderly, and sometimes predictable. Haven't been too predictable this week. You'll find we've got all the important turns, as we always do, but the markets of Forex and futures have been searching a bit for direction, a little bit of churning going on. We will see. And remember, the business of trading is making money, which is what this Change Your Life is all about. You should learn to trade the Danielcode time signals, folks. You can't do that on the website, although our TO3 and TO3 Plus and Blue Line signals do have an element of time in them. But once you learn to trade pure time signals, Mick Murphy and others, one of whom, Mark L, is with us today, it came up with this statement, which I hear quite often with tutorial graduates. It's changed my life, and that's a very big statement. And the opportunities to be financially independent, it's so marvelous, this Danielcode time trading. And Danielcode price trading itself is extraordinary. But for those of you who are contemplating doing a tutorial, do make the decision and get started. It will seriously change your life. And the way I've designed the program, I spent many years, of course, staring at computer screens for me in New Zealand anyway, in the middle of the night, same pretty much in Australia where I am now. But I designed the Danielcode trading system so you don't have to sit and look at your computers. You simply get your end of day data, you create your signals, you put your orders on, and that's it, 30 minutes a day. You can stay connected to your computer if you like. You can look at the markets crawling up and down if you like, watching ants crawling up a wall. But it's designed so you don't have to do that. And it's extraordinarily clever, and I hope you're going to see the point of it all today. So I've put my photo up for those of you who will recognize me when I come to America next. but you may not. That photo was taken at the start in Sydney Harbour on my yacht Sidewinder at the start of the Sydney Hobart race. And I've still got the hair, which is a good thing, but I have to admit that photo was many years ago, and I don't go yachting anymore, which I guess age will weary us, unfortunately. But you learn the Danielcode; it will change your life, folks. Okay, so essentially there are two different versions of the Danielcode. The pre-2000, hello Rolf, good to have you with us. Rolf from Melbourne, the TO3 buy for NASDAQ, wonderful trade last night. Yeah, it was nice. It's great stuff, isn't it, Rolf? And thank you for saying so. There are two different versions of the Danielcode. The pre-2000 version is derived from mathematical extension of the famous two numbers that I've talked to you about occasionally, recorded and written about 640 BC, 2,500 years ago, essentially, in Susa, which was a sometime capital of the historic Persian Empire, now modern Iran. And from these two numbers, we've also learnt the true progression of time. These time sequences create ratios that work perfectly on both of our chart axes. So put another way, DC time cycles define price in modern futures and Forex markets. So time, the primary measurement of time in the Danielcode lexicon, is 29.6 days. Now, those of you who've done a tutorial know just how extraordinary this whole thing is. And one of the great mysteries, a friend of mine who's been a wonderful Danielcode member, done tutorials and what have you, sent me a book on the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. And I've read it with great interest, but it's really interesting that, oh my goodness, somebody can type. It's Rob. Okay, I'll come back to you in a minute, maybe. The book of Daniel in the Bible has been read literally by billions of people. I mean, it's the most read piece of manuscript or writing in the world ever. And how I read that chapter 12 in the book of Daniel and just got such a completely different take on it to anyone else is extraordinary. And Mark, you sent me that wonderful book. I'm reading it, and I'm scratching my head as to the lack of insights that particular writer has. Well, he's got some wonderful insights, but they're not the insights that I got, and they're not even similar to it, and they never have been. The Danielcode is totally unique, and bears no resemblance really to anything else. But let's push on, and the alternate to that, if you're offended by the word mention of the book of Daniel, offended by me referring to the Old Testament or the Bible, then you can look at the alternate, the post-2010 version. And that defines time as 29.53, which is the length of a synodic month. Now, a synodic month is really the true average length of a calendar month. And if you think about how extraordinary that is, we couldn't actually prove that until 1952, when the first atomic clock went in Paris. So this is, depending on your age, this is ancient history or it's modern history. But the difference between the two DC versions is 0.136, or about 4 hours a month. And remember that from 1887 until 1952, the US Stock Exchange, which is what all our equity indices are based on, they traded for 6 days a week. And it was only in 1952 when it was changed to 5 days a week. And that's really not so long ago in terms of trading. So markets have a memory So we're never quite sure whether markets are running on their 5 or their historic 6-day cycle. Additionally, we have weekends and market holidays that don't appear on charts unless you happen to be looking at crypto charts where they do trade on the weekend. Pretty extraordinary stuff. But as such, decimal points in time cycles are largely irrelevant. And that's why we're able to look at time cycles, which is what we get from both the synodic month or the book of Daniel. We get the same thing with a very small variance. I would say, I do say an immaterial variance. And then we find by observation that those same time cycles actually create all of our price cycles. And we've got, as you know, over 40,000 of those chart, Danielcode members charts, which get posted under the chart archives tab of our website 30 days after they're released live to members. That delay, of course, is to protect the information for a while for those Danielcode members who are paying for the privilege of seeing those charts. And when we look by observation at all of those charts, we see that these time cycles define price, which is the other axis. One's the x-axis, the other's the y-axis on the chart. But these time cycles define price perfectly. And you can check that. Go and have a look at the chart archives. You will be hard-pressed to find a market that has turned anywhere except at a Danielcode number. Let me see what my friend Rob is telling me. He's gone to a whole lot of trouble. He's got half a page of typing. Just an update on reality. COVID New Zealand. Christchurch is riddled with COVID. So much the hospital's also in emergency. Goodness me, I didn't know anything about this. COVID, so much hospital in emergency. My brother-in-law, Nick, is the head of neurosurgery at Christchurch Hospital. I obviously haven't been talking to him often enough. Living with it in New Zealand is 5% of the population, 5 million. 5 million gets it every month, and 30% that goes to hospital. They are moving patients across hospitals as beds are in the corridors, and some elective cases told to sleep in their car. The media and government spin it to protect people to come back into New Zealand, but bear with me, folks. I just scrolled down in their car. Promote it, keep the tourists coming to New Zealand. They must have rat tests before and after, etc., and there are not enough service staff for hospital sector to operate sufficiently, e.g. some services are closed due to lack of transitory staff, such as no one in charge sheets in hotels. Okay. All right. Well, Rob, I won't be seeing you soon. Thanks, mate. I'll wait for all of that to calm down a little bit. That doesn't sound too exciting at all, does it? Anyway, back to our the wonderful world of trading. Okay, so the business of trading is making money, and of course the question is, you always ask quietly and silently, and I don't deal with it, is how much money. So we make no inducements at all. We simply say you can have a 14-day free trial of everything at the Danielcode, and you can decide for yourself whether it's worthwhile or not. But I'm quite happy to pass on comments that some of our Danielcode tutorial graduates have made. Yeah, Rob, thank you. I appreciate that, mate. So here's some of the statements we've had. You've heard some of these because they've been made at these bi-monthly webinars. This would be, you will recognize this is Dean up in that really, really cold country in northern Canada. I've made over 600% on my account this year. That was last year. I've made over 100% on my account in August 2021. Same chap. I've made over 80% on my account in September 2021. And then in December, and I do think this is precious and shows you what a quality individually is, I don't want to say any more about my DC success as it is becoming boastful. What a wonderful guy. And of course, lots of guys who are with us today. Mark L's one of them, Murph's one of them, Mick D's another one of them. Who we got here? Tom Risky just joined us. Hello, Tom. Trevor's with us. Vicky's with us. Hello, Vicky. Good to have you with us. We don't have many ladies with us, and I really appreciate it when we do. Lots of people coming in a bit later. Chip's with us, and good to have you with us, old mate. Andrew's with us, Akshay's with us, yeah, everyone's coming, a lot of people coming a bit late. But Mark L's done this, Mick D's done this, anyone who's done a tutorial's done this. And of course, we have Mike Mitsos with us. He's the Phantom Futures trader from Chicago. He's a dentist up there. And he came to a tutorial in Los Angeles, I think, or it might have been Chicago, some considerable years ago. So I don't think he's up to date on trading time. But nonetheless, anyone who's done a Danielcode tutorial since I've been teaching time trading has made this particular statement. I've made 31,000 on DC paper trading of natural gas for calendar 2016. And in fact, all Danielcode tutorial clients have done this, somewhere between 28,000 and 33,000 for the calendar year. Now, when you consider that the margin for natural gas back then, and I went the trouble of looking it up and writing it down, the margin ranged from $900 to $2,350 for 2016. Let's go the other way. Let's go overboard a little bit and say it was 3,000, which is more than it was. You're talking about 1,000% paper trading. Of course, you wouldn't get that in real life because you've got slippage, you've got a few other foibles, but it is perfectly indicative of the returns that are possible trading Danielcode time signals. Now, I'm going to stick my neck out and say it was Mark L who chose this market. It might have been Mike Murphy, I'm not sure, one of the two, I think. And whichever one of it was chose this market. I used to say to people, just do me a year's paper trading of any market you like. And one of these gentlemen chose natural gas 2016. And, you know, when he showed me the results, I nearly fell off my chair. It was obviously a very, very good year. So whoever it was a bit more cunning than I gave him credit for. But interestingly, 2015 and 2017, the months either side of it, they're up in that $14,000 to $16,000 net on paper trading, which based on even at the maximum margin of $2,350 is absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? Wonderful stuff. And we have people doing tutorials all the time. I can't do many of them because they take a considerable amount of time, and with all my other obligations, I can only do 3 or sometimes 4 a month. So if you're considering a Danielcode tutorial, let me know and get your booking in early. Okay, let's see what else. Rob's still talking here. Here we are. Just so you don't waste your time booking at centre. Full disclosure, since you have a surgeon in the family in the hospital, my office deals directly with Director of Health, Dr. Ashley Bloomfield, who will resign July. He's had enough. Okay. Well, says Kiora Rob, many thanks for this. I'll forward my colleague leading our work on long COVID. Nahi Mihi knew Ashley, Dr. Ashley, T22 Fakarani, whilst that I've been there, isn't it? And more Maori, Director General of Health, pronouns, all those details. Okay. All right, thanks for that, guys. Let's move on. Australia's a bit better than that. I think we're over the worst of it. Perhaps I shouldn't say that, but I think that's the state. So let's talk about the elements of Danielcode trading. The first item, if you're trading price, or looking at our TO3 plus signals or our blue line signals, is Danielcode target recognition from the members' charts. Now, we post for members' charts 11 futures markets and 9 Forex markets twice a week, more often if it's required. But we also maintain charts for the other markets that are not, we don't have members charts published for. So I'm looking at those charts, and any signals that come up, I'm posting those into TO3 or TO3 plus signals. So remember that these TO3 plus signals, which is where you should be starting with, and our blue line signals, these are predominantly price signals with a small element of time. Always be aware of adding the correlated trades. I've talked to you about that before. Correlated trades are so important. In Forex, there's a ton of them. In futures, all of the equities, NASDAQ, Dow, Russell, S&P, and Germany's DAX are so highly correlated that a signal in any one of those markets can be executed in any other one of the equity markets, provided the trade is elected. Be aware of failure points, which then become flip me entries. I've talked to you about this pretty religiously over the last 6 or 9 months to mention flip me trades whenever I do a Danielcode webinar. I'm still trying to come to grips with how we can put those into a format that will appear in the Danielcode trade navigator setup. Okay, and then as a whole alternate to this, you have Danielcode time signals, which is what we've just been talking about, and they are literally a world on their own. Have a look at this. This is the US dollar Japanese yen trade today, which was not elected. Remember, of course, that Danielcode trade signals are conditional only on being elected, and they're valid for a certain number of days. TO3 signals are valid for the day of posting and the next day, as are TO3 plus signals, which we expect to be elected on the day of posting. But I've said to you on a number of occasions, it's certainly worth writing them down, as some of these signals can come early, and you should allow at least the day after posting as well for the TO3 plus signals. Have a look at where this market making these turns. I mean, this trade, as I say, has not been elected, but simply have a look at the exactitude of what you're getting here. And this happens all the time. This is not a one-off occurrence. This is like an everyday occurrence. On the big bar up, that's got the TO3, created the TO3 sell signal, the high of that bar is 130.189. The Danielcode blue line's at 130.231. Have a look what happened today. The high of that bar today is 130.240 against 130.231, 9 ticks. That's all. That's how precise and accurate this stuff is, and it goes on like that day after day after day. That's not an occasional thing. Okay, let's have a look at this. S&P. Equities have had this lovely run up, which we've got all of it, and now they're having a little bit of a conference. The emotion, the wish list for the great unwashed is for the market to go up because they simply don't know what to do when these markets are going down. And it's been really interesting. Our friends from Zero Hedge, I often quote them. They're very clever people, but they're largely an options trading crowd. And it's interesting that they get so confused about direction when the market's going down. And it's going to be very interesting to see how well their options trading strategy holds on if this market continues to go both ways, which it's doing now and has been doing since the beginning of the year. And it's not doing so flash, I can tell you. But for us, of course, it's wonderful. With the Danielcode, you should be able to tell the trend, the true trend, simply from the last completed bar on the chart. That is not an inside bar. And you should be able to tell that true trend better than any others. And that's so important, isn't it? Because our risk management will change if we think we're taking a trade that is with the apparent trend or against the apparent trend. And this is a bit like the three men in a boat up in the Barrier Reef. They're fishing out on the beautiful blue waters there, and a rogue wave comes along and swamps their boat, and now you've got these three mates all in the water together. And they can see an island not far away. Most of the islands there, they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful places. If you ever get the chance, go to some of the islands in the Whitsundays group, it's called, in the Great Barrier Reef. About as close to paradise as you'll ever get. They see an island, they say, this is all right, we can swim that far, so they start swimming. Shortly after, one of them turns around and says, goodness, we've got a shark behind us. So this is what happens to traders. You've got to understand that you don't actually have to beat the others onto the beach. You only have to beat one of them. So when you're talking about determining trend, you don't have to be perfect. You only have to be better than the great unwashed. And I can guarantee you, once you've done a Danielcode tutorial, you will be very, very much better than the great unwashed. Okay, let's move on. So here is gold. I want to talk to you again about the importance of correlated trades. I've told you about equities. Now, gold and silver and the HUI index, HUI index, that's an index of unhedged gold miners. There used to be 25 of them. I'm not sure how many there are now. But those markets are also highly correlated that a Danielcode trade signal in one can be traded in any other. So this is gold, which has been covering, if you like, its intentions for quite a while. As you can see, it's had a few days down, a couple of days up, pretty unconvincing, down to the big key reversal bar on Wednesday. But what you had was a buy signal in silver. Now, we've talked before, Greg Palladini as well has commented on this, that the signals in silver, the trading in silver has been markedly superior to trading gold. And what you've had here is a buy signal in silver, which you're able to execute in gold. And this is what you got if you took your TO3 buy signal from silver and traded it in gold, which is so highly correlated that it makes this viable. Interesting to see the degree of accuracy in these charts again. You can see the bar down, the Tuesday's bar down, had a low of 1837.6. Where's the nearest Danielcode number? You can see it's on the chart, 1837.5. And that's been on members' charts since May the 24th. There you have it. So what about today's little rally up here? The high of this bar today, 1874.4. Where's the Danielcode number? 1873.6. 8 tick variance. Pretty nice, isn't it? So that's what you get from correlated trades. Now, in Forex, there's a ton of correlations. Anything that's got, for example, the USD on either side of the pair, that's correlated directionally. If the USD strengthens, it will strengthen in all of the Forex pairs. If the USD weakens, it will weaken in all of the Forex pairs. So you've got a massive correlations which you should be looking for in Forex. And as an interesting aside, the correlated trades are actually better and more profitable than the primary trade that we identify in our TO3 or TO3 plus signals. In other words, the correlated trade is a little bit more subtle, and that's why it seems to do better. I think we've got a chart of silver here anyway. Here it is. You can see this. Same sort of thing. The specificity of these charts is absolutely extraordinary. You can see the line that runs up into the blue line at 2248.5. This is in silver. The actual high of that bar was 2247.5. That's two ticks away from the Danielcode blue line. Then you had a 2-day correction, and the low into Tuesday was 2145.5. Where's your Danielcode number? Red line, 2145.0. Next day we get a key reversal bar, and it just breaks that number, but look what it did exactly on Wednesday. The low of Wednesday's bar is 2141.0. Where's that second line, the black line that it bounced off? 2138.5, 1.5 ticks variance. Extraordinary stuff, isn't it? Then it rallied up from there, and it's not quite right. The black line it's closed on, 2236, that's actually from the previous day. But just perfect stuff, isn't it? Just keeps working. And if you're paying attention to all the things I'm telling you about, you'll be making money as well. Lots of money, huge money. Thinking of which, don't leave yet, because we talked about how well some of our clients have done with their trading. It's actually going on now, and I'm going to show you as soon as we get down to those charts, which won't be long. This is the DAX. What's really interesting is that the DAX is leading the US equities market and has been for quite a while. And it's been quite extraordinary to see the direction from the DAX and then being fought with very little, what's the word I'm looking for, confidence in the, plenty of confidence in the DAX, very little confidence in the US equivalents, Russell, Dow, NASDAQ, S&P. But there's that correlated blue line, correlated TO3 buy signal today that Rolf was just talking about. Of course, we had today, for Thursday's trading, we had a NASDAQ buy carried forward, TO3 buy. We had a TO3 plus buy in gold and a buy in the Russell as well. And you can see the silver trade and the gold trade, very obvious. So that's the joy of correlated trading, isn't it? But look at the DAX. I know not many of you trade it. We've got a couple of very few European members who trade it, but it's been a leading indicator for equities for quite a while now. So that's worth adding to your bag of tricks. This is important. This is copper today. Just have a look at that, $4,800 per one contract. Now, did we have a buy signal for copper today? No. What we did have is we had a sell signal for copper a few days ago. For Tuesday, May 31st, we had a sell signal in copper. In fact, it might have even been a day before that, but we had the sell signal. We got an outside buy. You can see where I put the TO3 sell signal. And the whole point is that the Danielcode trade signals, TO3, TO3 plus, and blue line trades, are so specific that a failure in any of those signals at the right point gives you a new entry for another directional trade. So with this particular market, a massive, great big trade today, which most of you, I guess, didn't see unless you're paying attention to correlations and how the flip me signals work. So we had a TO3 sell signal on Tuesday, May the 31st. That signal was elected, down it went on the outside bar, then a key reversal bar up yesterday, but it's the failure point from the outside bar, the 0531 bar, that sets up the flip me. So the failure point is, technically it's one tick above the high of the outside bar on Tuesday. I use a two-tick buffer. That's just my personal habit, if you like, over many years. But technically, the failure point is quite simply one tick above that TO3 sell signal. So don't try and do this with other signals. It doesn't work terribly well. But with the TO3, TO3 plus and blue line trades from the Danielcode, they are so exact because they've had to go through the process of target recognition. And you can see right there the high of that outside bar was 436.65. Where's the Danielcode number? 437.35. Very little variance, small enough variance that we can say that that is a qualified sell signal that was elected. And the failure point, and all Danielcode signals do the same thing. They give you the new signal, they give you the entry point, they give you the initial protective stop. And remember that these signals are so specific that a failure of any of these signals, in this case taking out the high of the outside bar from Tuesday, creates and sets up a flip me signal. And a flip me signal means that at that point your trade is going to be wrong, and if it's wrong you should be doing something about it. In this case, stop and reverse and be long. Well, have a look at that trade. $4,800 for very little, simply being aware where the failure point was, and for having paid attention to these webinars where I've talked to you on a number of occasions about the potential for the flip me signals and why you should be looking for them. And it's well rewarded, wasn't it? With a whole lot of money like that. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Here we are. This is the Russell 2000. DC target recognition at its low, which was, this would be Wednesday's low, 1827.5. What's the Danielcode number? 1827.8. 3 ticks variance, that's not even a hair. And that set up our TO3 buy signal, which you therefore saw. We also had a buy signal in NASDAQ, which means you had a correlated buy in the Dow and a correlated buy in DAX and a correlated buy in the S&P. And that's how it all works out. Okay, let's have a look at this. This is UST bonds. Very important that you're aware of the failure point and where your stops go. So if you've got your stops in the wrong place, they're going to get hit. If you have your stops in the right place, they rarely get hit. This is an interesting example because the high of the setup bar that gave us the TO3 sell signal, in fact we got it with TO3 plus sell signal, the turn was already underway. The high of that bar was 141 carat 23. That little arrowhead you see in there, that's called a carat. 141 I should say, carat 23. Trade was elected, down it goes. Next day, which is Friday, May the 27th, it rallies up. Have a look at that high. 141 carat 21. 2 ticks below the failure point, or 2 ticks, actually be 3 ticks below the failure point. That's how specific this trading is. It's quite magical. I talked to you about the joy, the excitement, the thrill, the rewards of trading these markets once you know the Danielcode. And it's a life-changing experience. It's so rewarding, it's so exciting. I mean, at a stage I couldn't contemplate ever doing anything else. But I love it when the markets just show you how precise and orderly they are. You know, at the start of these webinars, I say markets are orderly. They're sometimes predictable. They're rational. Look how rational this is. There's your counter trend, 2 ticks away from matching the high, which would have given you a double high, double top. This is close enough to a double top as it makes no difference. Double top is an old-fashioned expression that you'll read about in all the trading books. This one seemed to work particularly well because a double top tells you that you can expect a minimum of twice the first move down. That's the rationale for it. And that's exactly what you got here. So the absolute magical control of markets, they don't do silly things. They very rarely do silly things, almost all the time, and I mean that, literally. These markets are being orderly and doing just what they're expected to do. If you took that sell in US T-bonds, and it's been great trading in T-bonds lately, the high of that TO3 plus sell signal, the high of the setup bar was 141.23. So your initial stop loss was 141.25. Okay, see where the retest of that high came from? 141.21. It didn't touch your stop. You're still short. It didn't look great for the day. You weren't jumping up and down, hooping and hollering and saying, "Go, you good thing." But you should at least have been aware that if you had your stops in the right place, you got a nice trade out of it. It's not too dynamic going down. It sort of struggled the last 3 days, but pretty simple, $1,700 there, just from knowing to put your stop in the right place. And that stop loss was shown on the Danielcode trade program, which creates the signals and moves on from there. Right, Greg, yes, Greg's done 2, this is Greg Palladini, folks. He's done 2 Danielcode tutorials. He's a very, very good trader and a wealth fund manager in California. And he came back for his second tutorial specifically to learn about trading time. And you can read under Members Forum, if you've got a membership or a trial, you can see Greg's post, which is titled Danielcode Training Tutorial under Forum. And he's been so gracious to share his trip down through the Danielcode trading tutorial with us, with all of you, and he's allowed us to use his full name, which we've done, and it doesn't happen often, and we're very, very gracious gesture from Greg, and we are most grateful for it. What he's saying is, excuse me, do you find the flip me trades make some significantly larger move? Absolutely. And that's the whole point of them, that they are hitting at a time. And to confirm, flip me trades are valid for up to 3 days. That's correct, Greg. They do make considerably bigger results because essentially they've got the market wrong. If you see the copper chart, which we were talking about, this massive trade today, you had your Danielcode TO3 sell signal. There probably were lots of other sell signals, but the market essentially was short right there, and this hit through in a short enough time frame that most of the folks, particularly the options traders, finish up on the wrong side of the trade. And yes, they are considerably more lucrative as a rule than the direct trades, in the same way that the correlated trades, Greg, tend to be better than the market from which we got the actual signal. And that's because it's not so well known. There are fewer people on that side of the trade. But it's certainly been a big winner today, flip me, as we have with a number of markets I've shown you of that defining ilk. You should pay lots and lots of attention to flip me because it's very, very good and the money's big. Okay, have a look at this, folks. I've talked to you about Dean S. up in far North Canada about his trading results. going into last year, which are continuing, I'm happy to say, this year. This is the mini Dow. This is Danielcode time signals. And we've taken exactly a month, seeing as the reporting we've done for Dean has been on a monthly basis. This is a month till today, essentially. And you've got a buy signal, a sell signal, a buy signal, a sell signal, a buy signal, and a sell signal elected today. These are Danielcode time signals. When you do a Danielcode tutorial, this is the second part of what I will be teaching you. The first part of the Danielcode tutorial, I teach you about trading price, and it's more of a traditional method of trading. Danielcode trading time is unknown apart from at the Danielcode tutorials, so far as I know. Nobody, and I've certainly read as much as anyone in the world has ever read about trading systems. Nobody that I'm aware of has ever started to understand trading time other than here at the Danielcode. So have a look at that. That's about 17,000 thereabouts, plus or minus, in the last month exactly. Okay, and on mini Dow, the margin is $9,350 today. That gives you about 180% on margin for the month. So you don't need too many of those to log up the sort of numbers that I've been talking to you about. Now, volatility, of course, is a huge factor in your trading results. That's why market selection is so important, and that's why I suggest that you trade more than one market. I'd rather see you trade a smaller contract across 2 or 3 markets at least, rather than a bigger contract across one market. That's our form of diversification, being across uncorrelated markets. So you don't want to be trading 2 equity markets. If you're trading an equities market, like where the mini Dow, very, very good trading. The Russell, of course, is my pick of them. It hasn't got the excitement to the upside that the Dows are just showing us, but you then should be looking at something non-correlated, a metal, precious metal if you like, but the commodities are vastly underrated. We've just had some super trades in oil, coffee, sugar, and wheat. Absolutely wonderful. So you should be aiming to trade smaller contracts if you've got a limited bank, but be across some diversification by having some interest in the correlated markets and the non-correlated markets, I should say. And as I've said, coffee. Coffee's got a bit of a problem because it's actually on the ICE exchange, the Intercontinental Exchange, and a lot of brokers don't like that. They're so mean, you can't believe this is true. One prominent broker I know of, who I've dealt with over the years, his firm won't offer contracts, futures in the ICE exchange. When I asked him why, it was, well, they don't want to pay the additional fee to get the data. You can't believe it, can you? Incredible. Anyway, there it is. So there's the Dow. There's Danielcode time trading of the Dow in the last month. Exactly. And there's $17,000 in profit. So as you can see, these results that I've suggested to you earlier are not pie in the sky. They're happening now. They're happening all the time. It never stops. So I do urge you, give some urgent consideration to learning how to trade Danielcode time. If you want to do a Danielcode video tutorial, you will need determination and some dedication. If you want to be a super trader and join the elite, email me, janeneedham@thedanielcode.com, and I will be happy to talk to you about any item of interest, and I will be happy to teach you how to trade price, and more importantly, how to create your own signals and trade Danielcode time. It's an extraordinary discovery, if I say so myself, and I do. It's amazing. I want you all to change your life. I want you all to understand this stuff. I want you to be financially independent. I want you to have another private business sitting in your side pocket. It's not a lot of work once you've done the tutorial. It's not a lot of work, and it certainly is a lot of money. So that's about it for us, guys. Don't be afraid of volatility. Embrace it. Welcome it and trade it. And if the risk on your bars are too big, which will happen when volatility hits particular markets, use the ATR, the average true range, over 30, 37, 44 period, whatever you like, but never risk more than 1.5 times ATR. And that's because it will destroy your sequencing of your trading system. Even money managers are now agreeing that the Danielcode is more than a hedging option for their stocks portfolio. It is a wealth creator, trading futures in particular. And Greg Palladini has been kind enough to say that as he's talked us through some of the information and experience he's had pretty much live doing his Danielcode trading tutorial. Wonderful stuff. Okay, so we're active on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and we haven't been on Twitter for the last 10 days or so because my son, who handles all my technology requirements, seeing as I am totally illiterate about technology, my relationship with computers is basically I press the button, and if they don't start, I have to get someone who understands them. I have just no understanding of computers at all, large because I don't want to know anything about them. I do all these calculations that you see on these tutorials and charts. I do all that with pen and paper. So that's the limitation, but we'll be on it hard next week when John comes back. Do read the disclaimers on the Danielcode website, and please take them seriously. It is very, very easy to lose money trading futures and Forex if you don't know what you're doing. Equally, it is very, very easy to make lots and lots of money once you understand Danielcode trading in its entirety. So I think that's going to be us for the time being, folks. Let me take you back and let's have a look at the statement we've got here to deal with. Wow. This is Greg Palladini. Cocoa. I used to trade cocoa. I haven't traded it for a long time. Greg's saying it's racing, reacting nicely to our Danielcode time signals. Even if it trades in a range, he's been doing very, very well with it. Isn't that grand? Okay, so I think I've dealt with everything here, folks. I hope I have. Thank you very much for being with me today. Do drop me an email, jneedham@thedanielcode.com, jneedham@thedanielcode.com, if you'd like to learn more about the Danielcode, or if you'd be interested in becoming an elite trader. We can do that for you with the Danielcode tutorial. And a final look at Terry's wonderful banner here. Missed turn. Don't have them. If you're following the Danielcode and you're paying attention to correlated trades, there won't be any missed turns. And if you're trading time signals, of course, the market just leads you into every turn. That's what time signals do. So thank you for being with us, folks. I'm finished for today. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll look forward to trading with you next week. And Rolf says, time well spent, all part of life's investment. Take care. Thank you, Rolf, indeed, and to you, my friend. Thanks, everybody. Grand having you with me. We'll look forward to doing it again in a fortnight's time. All the best for now. Bye-bye.